Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the CG Show. With me today is Mr. Michail Pervolarakis, Greece's upcoming tennis superstar. And also with me today is Mr. Harry Manaras, who has introduced myself to Michail or Mike. Now, you've represented Greece in the Davis Cup and the ATP Cup in this year, which we'll obviously jump into. You were having a great season before COVID's obviously interrupted the tour, but I really want to talk about today your origin story, exactly your upbringing, how you fell in love with the game, and what's obviously coming next for you. You're still very young. You're only 24 years of age. And also want to touch on as well, you've got a young family, how you find to obviously balance that while you're traveling the tour. So thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me in your podcast, Christian, Harry. Very good to have you too in the podcast. I'm very happy to be able to join you and talk. So about my tennis upbringing, I started playing in a very early age. I started playing when I was 4 years old. Both of my parents were playing just for fun at the hotel, and I guess I liked it. We all decided for me to take some lessons there at the hotel, and I liked it. I did it for a year there, and then I went to a tennis club with my coach that I had for 6 or 7 years, and started playing some competition when I was 8-9 years old, under 10s, mid-balls, and everything just started, from that hotel, just because my parents were playing tennis.
What was it like? Because you were born in Cyprus, and how long did you move to Greece, or what was your upbringing with where you lived?
I grew up and I went to school in Cyprus. So I lived in Cyprus for 18 years. And then I went to college in the US. So my dad is from Greece. My mom is from Cyprus. And they were just living in Cyprus at the time. They still are. And that's where I grew up. But I never had a Cypriot passport or a Cypriot ID. So I always had the Greek passport. So I always had to represent Greece in Davis Cup, and yeah.
Okay, and what was it like? Because Greece and Cyprus wasn't big on tennis, and I'm still sure it's not up until obviously now you've got a fair few Greek athletes coming through the ranks, but it wasn't a sport of choice.
Definitely not when I started. When I was 10 years old or so, Marcos Pagdadis made it to the finals of the Australian Open, and he had an amazing year. So for Cyprus, that was really big for tennis. All the kids wanted to start playing tennis, and the clubs were getting full. There were more players, more coaches, more clubs. Kind of what's happening right now in Greece with Stefanos and Maria. It actually became big in Cyprus, basically because of Marcos.
Yeah, well, I think that's why Harry started loving the game because of Marcos. So was that something where that really drew you? Because I know for Harry, talk about yourself, Harry. That really drew you to the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I always, before Marcos, there was also Mark Philippoussis, who I used to love watching here at the Australian Open. I was young and I remember he beat Pete Sampras. So he sort of got me into the sport. But I think what really kicked off the love for tennis for me, and I know Mike, obviously I've spoken in depth to Mike about it as well, that run in 2006 here in Melbourne at the Australian Open, I think for a lot of, the Cypriot people, the Greek people, and, all the Greek and Cypriots abroad, outside of Greece and Cyprus, I think that really drew awareness and made them draw inspiration to the sport of tennis. And let's not forget, Marcos also had a great 2006 Wimbledon that year. Everyone forgets that he made the semi-final that year as well. He lost to Nadal. No, at Wimbledon in 2006. He lost to Nadal. And obviously lost to Federer in the final of the Oz Open. So nobody could beat them back then, in 06. So in the peak of their career. So he's arguably gone down to, the two greatest of all time. And he had a fantastic year that year. And I think it inspired a lot of people to love and appreciate the sport more.
Yeah, Michail, what was it like actually in Cyprus? Was it actually a huge reception? Because I remember Melbourne. I remember at Federation Square, I was there for the final. It was huge, and there was so many Greeks and Cypriots, and that's kind of I started following kind of the game because of that. Was it actually massive? Like, was it like a hero's reception sort of? Because I
Yeah.
know the Cypriots
So,
they love getting around athletes and sporting events.
yeah. I remember. I was in school, and I think he was playing his quarterfinal match or semi-final. I don't remember. And I remember going out of class and setting up a TV to watch him play. And then I remember that the final was in a weekend, which makes sense, Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was, in Cyprus. And in my club, no one was training. They set up a big TV. They printed shirts with Marcos on it. It was such a big thing. There were so many kids watching, that final, and it never really happened before. Okay, you had people watching the Australian Open final, but this time it's somebody that comes to your club, and it's like from the same city that you are. It was unbelievable, for all the kids and all the people in general to be able to see that. And I'm not 100% sure, but there is like a roundabout in Limassol where all like the teams are celebrating their championships and their if they win the cup or whatever, Apollo and IL. And I'm pretty sure there were people like on that roundabout with Cypriot and Greek flags and praising Marcos.
It's just going nuts. That's insane. Where actually to ask you, where in Cyprus are you from? Because I'm half Cypriot as well.
He's from Limassol.
No, where are you from?
From Limassol too. That's where I grew up.
Oh, you're from Limassol as well. Okay, crazy. And so obviously you're going through. So your love for the game, obviously, yeah, was lifting, and then you started playing more and more. And what was it like when you were trying to balance your sport with school when you were younger? What was that like? Was it difficult? Were you trying? Were you so obsessed with the game that your grades weren't that great, or what was going on?
You know what? When I was younger, like 12 and 13, there was not really a program that would accommodate my need to practice, in the mornings too. So I was just going to school like regular kids in the mornings, and then I was training in the afternoon. I was, at the club from 3 to 8 or whatever. I was there the whole day playing games, playing mini tennis, training, playing matches, whatever. Every day there. But when I was 14 years old, I actually went in Nicosia and stayed with my family's friends, and I was training at the National Tennis Center of Cyprus at the time, and I went to American Academy and a private school that allowed me to get out in the morning for like 2 or 3 hours, train, and then go back to school, then go back to training. So I was doing it from 14 to 16 years old. I decided not to live with my family, and so I can have that. So I was training more. And,
wow, so that was actually going to go into my next question. Like, when did you kind of say to yourself, "This is it. Like, I want to do this as a career, and I'm going to give it absolutely everything"?
Yeah, I don't know if when I was 14 years old, I was like, oh, I want to be a professional player. I didn't have that goal. Obviously, I did, but it wasn't like, so such a, so strong. It wasn't so strong. But the things that I was doing, I see back now, I'm like, I was sacrificing my family. I was sacrificing all of my friends to go in a different city and train. I obviously, that was all me. I decided to do that, no one else. And so I think it wasn't as strong, the idea to become a professional tennis player, but at the same time, like I said, I was doing all those things that were driving me towards there.
Just
Yeah,
on,
it's
sorry,
sorry.
Christian. Just on that, obviously you weren't probably aware of that because of your age and what it needed what you needed to do to make it, and get on the ATP tour and get yourself a ranking and become a pro at it. I just wanted to know, back then when you were young, do you believe that the Cypriot and the Greek tennis federations were doing enough back then when you were a teenager growing up? And have you seen much of a difference in transition based on the success of, like you said, Maria Sakkari, Valentini as well, to a degree, Stefanos, and obviously Marcos as well? What's that been like?
So I didn't really have a relationship with the Greek Tennis Federation until a year or two ago. They didn't even know I could play for them. They didn't even know me. Obviously I wasn't ranked or anything. So, no one reached out and tried to invest or whatever. And I had a good relationship with the Cypriot Tennis Federation. They were helping me out. And at that time, there was a good program set up. There were a lot of kids, a lot of adults. Marco sometimes was coming and practicing there at the National Tennis Center. There were 3 coaches. There was a fitness schedule. Financially, I don't think there was any help. Just for the European Championships or for Junior Davis Cup or stuff like that. They were not really investing financially and giving sponsors out to kids that were worth it, which was something that was missing. I think it's a big part. But there was a National Tennis Center and players and a coach. It was kind of organized. That doesn't exist in Greece even now. I'm hoping that some people will get together and they will do that, because I think it will be great for younger kids, for me, for players that are trying to make it in general, to be able to have a base where you have these players there, this coach. You don't need to worry about money, paying. You have a fitness. You have courts.
Cool.
It doesn't exist right now, but I believe that it's gonna happen soon, hopefully.
I hope so. And I'm touching on that base on that point that you make there as well. Not to make you sort of jealous or anything like that, Mike, but I see the Australian players and how well looked after they are. Obviously, Australia hosts a Grand Slam, the ATP Cup, and other ATP and WTA events. So they've got a bigger and better tennis infrastructure, but they support their players. And you're right. I just really hope that as time goes on, the Greek and the Cypriot Federation really elevate the professionalism and can support the players financially as well, which is a big thing on tour.
Yeah, I was so Harry's really made me aware of it over the last month or two. I've never really I understand the game, but I actually don't understand how hard it actually is sometimes to really make it. And Harry really gave me an in-depth analysis of how it all works. And I was really shocked when he was telling me and how hard it is. And now even and that's why even Harry's been telling me about some of his dreams and ambitions for the Greek and Cypriot Federation, what he wants to kind of achieve in 20 or 30 years time, just to help. And it's it's crazy. So I really commend everything that you do, Mike, so far to get where you are, because it's been a journey and a half, I'm sure, and you've only just begun. But I think, give me a bit more into, you touched on saying when you were 14 or 16, you moved away from your family, and you didn't really have that dream of, you probably did. You have that dream of I want to be that. I want to be number one. I want to be a top 100 player. Or was it just you love the game and that was it?
I don't think I had specific goals, like to be number one or to be top 100. I did love the game a lot, and I had in the back of my mind that I do want to be a professional tennis player. I like the idea, it's not an easy thing, to be able to travel like 30, 35 weeks a year. Is not something that it sounds so amazing for a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But I think only mentally tough people are able to do it. It's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually one of my questions a bit later down the track, which we'll get into. I'm very curious to understand the tour because I was talking about it with Harry yesterday, how you guys literally travel all around the world. And I'd be fatigued. I'd be
Yeah.
fatigued just jumping on from flight to flight. But who were your idols growing up? I'm sure Baghdadis was a
Yeah.
huge one.
Definitely Baghdadis was number one, and then another player that I really liked was and I still do. He's just not playing. Is Del Potro,
Oh
Juan
yes,
Martin Del Potro.
Great
I really
player.
like his game.
Yeah.
it's
2001 US Open champion, knocked off Federer in 5. That was a great Grand Slam final. Great match that was.
And so then, obviously, you were 16 and you were training in Nicosia. Then what happened next? Because I know you ended up going to college and all that jazz. But how did you play? How did you play out after 16? What happened?
After 16, I went back in my city in Limassol,
Yeah.
and I joined the athletic school. It was kind of like the same deal. It was a public school, but it was kind of the same deal like in Nicosia. I was able to train in the morning with my coach and then train in the afternoon too, obviously. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to go pro or not. And I decided to not go pro immediately, and I decided to go to college. And now that I go back and see if it was a good idea or not, I think it was a very good idea. I was still immature mentally and physically to go play pro when I was 18, and I coming in the US and working with the coach here and working with the team and everything, it really changed my mentality in a lot of things. I really,
Yeah.
even though I was in college, I became more professional than I was.
Okay. Because what did you kind of see? Like you say, you look back and you say it was a great decision, obviously, because maybe your mentality. What do you kind of see that's telling you that? Has there been other players that you've just seen or that have gone on the tour, or like what's really giving you that impression that you've made the right choice?
I think the biggest impact that somebody had on me in college was my coach, the head coach there. From the first day, he believed in me, and just like his attitude of getting better daily, even like 1% daily, 0.5% daily. It was just so great, and I was not able to see the results in a week or 2 weeks, but after 4 years, I was a completely different player. I was improved so much than when I first came in. Obviously, I was older. I went at 18 and I came out 21, 22, which played a role physically and mentally. But at the same time, I believe that if he was not there and I would party, or there was like so many distractions that that were around, which I didn't really do. Obviously, I did party a little bit, I distracted myself a little bit, but nothing like I feel like some other people do, and I think
Nothing out of control.
I think it shows like where I am right now, as a player, and then if I compare myself to other people that might have been better than me before college.
Okay, that was going to be a question. What was it like actually being at college? Is it like the movies? where it's all crazy.
No, not really. Not in my school, at least. It's a small Catholic school where I went. Only 4,000 or 5,000 people. So the parties were not that good, which was great for me, you know.
At least you didn't get bloody distracted. What
It was great. It was awesome.
Harry, you
I
want to
was
say
so
something?
tired of them. After one semester, I was done. I'm like, it's not
Couldn't
worth
be bothered. It was the same thing on a different night.
Yeah.
Now going on college, obviously it's a unique format in my opinion. It's a unique system. I think it's great. It's a great pathway for players like yourself and many others to develop, and they need that stability, I think, and something to fall back on in life. So I've got two questions for you, Mike, about the college system. Number one, what did you study? What degree did you get from college or whatever your qualification was? So we'll start off with that question. What did you study?
Yeah. So first coming in college, I wanted to do sports science.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they didn't have that in my school. So I decided to go with psychology, which
Yes.
I decided that I think my second year or so. And I think it really helped me with my tennis, to be honest.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking right now. That would have been the best sort of subject to learn and, you know, advance yourself in, especially for, you know, the life on tour, the sport of tennis. I think it's go hand in hand. So, that's great. So you're fully qualified, and then say you have a successful illustrious career on tour, you retire at, say, 35, 36 years of age, you can then always fall back on that, correct, in the US, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. The next question of college was going to be, obviously, you've looked up to players like, obviously, Michail Pervolarakis, obviously the homegrown local tennis that you've idolised. You touched base on one, Martin Del Potro as well, the 2009 US champion. I love his game as well. He has huge forehands. It's unbelievable to watch. But I wanted to ask some good players that have come out of the college system, in my opinion, huge servers. They're like 2.5 meters tall in height. Let's focus on John Isner and Kevin Anderson in particular. They came out of the college system. They played a phenomenal Wimbledon semi-final about 2 years ago. I think it was 26-24 in the last set. It was just ace after ace. Have you sort of documented their journey, looked into it, seen what they've done? Because ultimately Anderson's made 2 Grand Slam finals, hit top 10 in the world. I think he hit 5 or 6 career high. And you've got Isner, who was lingering, I think, for the best part of 7 or 8 years into the top 10 and was consistently making quarterfinals of Grand Slams. So what are your thoughts on them, and have you sort of documented and looked into their journey as tennis players and grown motivation and inspiration from them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wasn't aware before going to college that there is actually more people than I thought that played college. And it's amazing to know, you know, that Isner, Anderson, Blake played were college players, because, you know, it's like the same path that I chose to do, start playing professionally at 22, and after 4 years of college with a degree, and you know, it's possible. You know, like when Marcos made it to the Australian Open, and, you know, is this guy from Cyprus and all that, you feel like it's possible for you to achieve what they achieved. So seeing them starting at 22 to play professionally and see them how well they did, it's you know, it's great for me, and it's great to know that it is possible, and
Absolutely.
to have other people prove that for you.
Well, I think what is I don't know if you guys will know, Harry. You'll probably know because you know every stat when it comes to tennis. But what are the percentages of like people going to colleges and then make college and making it professional, or even in a sense going the other way? It probably would have been smarter thinking about it, yeah, okay, it's probably taken you a couple more years to get on the tour, but at least you've kind of got something to fall back on. Michail, like, do you know the stats or anything like that of people that it takes to,
I
or
don't
even like looking into, I don't know who you were with. Has any of them made it into made it on the tour, or would you say you're the only one?
Well, you got to be a little bit more specific. Like, are you talking the top 150, top 200, or are you just talking ATP in general?
General.
General? Mike, you probably have more knowledge on that, I think, than me. It's fair to say. Or no?
Probably not. I probably stumped you a bit there.
That's fine. Well, look, I mean, it's a hard one to assess. I think it comes down to the individual, Christian. I mean, it's how hard you're prepared to go. I mean, another name that came to my mind just now, who I know did college, was what's his name? Steve Johnson from the United States of America, and he's been a consistently good top 100 player as well. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of players. It's something that you can't really measure. But it's definitely there's definitely been a lot of players that have come through the college system and gone on that top 200 bracket and consistently played at Grand Slam level and ATP Tour level as well as Challenger level.
And then, yeah, well then, even Michail, how old were you when you left college to get on tour?
I was 22.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what was it like? What was that? So you obviously you finished college, and then what was it like when you said, okay, done, now it's ready to rock and roll. Let's go chase my dreams.
I was really ready to go. I was playing some professional tournaments even while I was in college, and after my junior year, after my third year, I think I made it to a semifinals of a future or something. So I'm like, I have one more year. I'm ready to go, and I was really, really excited to be done and get out there. So my first trip after college, I had to do few classes of summer school because I did a semester less, and I was done like in end of June or something. I was done, and then in July I went for 5 weeks, Malaysia, Indonesia. So like I just went straight there for 5 weeks by myself. I made it to my first future final on the third tournament I played after college, and it was really great to see that I had the level to play in futures and make it to final and all that. So I was really excited to go, even during college, even during my last year.
So and then when you finally started rocking, rolling, and started doing it full time, what was it like? So you started traveling. How did you find that? How did you find trying to adapt to the tour?
I would say I'm a person that's easily adaptable. I don't really complain about stuff in general. So I was staying in, my budget was limited in the beginning. I mean, it still is, but I was staying in like cheap places, cheap hotels, eating cheap food, trying to save as much money as I could, make as much money as I could, and I was just happy to go. I didn't mind where I was sleeping. I just wanted the bed and to sleep well, and that's it. And I don't know. It was fun. It was fun in the beginning, and it still is now. It's different now with challengers because you have the hospitality, you have the transportation. It's a bit more straightforward for you. But in the beginning, it was very, very adventurous. I went to Malaysia. I was staying in an apartment with two other guys that I met in college, and we were like taking a taxi or whatever to the courts every day and eating food there and trying to understand the culture there and what I should lead and what not, you get educated.
Was it cool? Yeah. Like when you started traveling around the world at the start, was it a bit of a novelty where you're like, this is great? Or does it still amaze you, and is it still one of those things that you just it's a big privilege, or no, it's a big bonus in the game that you get to go around the world?
It's definitely a big bonus, and I really enjoy it. The one regret I have is that sometimes I don't have enough time to see the place. And I'm like, I'm traveling, I'm done that day, and I'm leaving the same day to go to the next tournament. And I had like no chance to see, Kuala Lumpur or, Jakarta or whatever, wherever I am. Obviously,
Yeah.
there are times where you have time, and you might have 2 weeks in a row in the same place. And so you stay there, and you explore a little bit, which I really like to do. But yeah, that's one thing that I wish I had, one extra day in each place so I could see it a bit better.
Well, it's
Have
fair to
you?
say you had a lot of time in Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and Melbourne this year. You had a bit of extra time in those cities.
What's that? Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't hear
Hey,
you.
Harry, you're crackling a little bit. Yeah.
Mine?
Every time you talk, yeah, you start crackling.
Okay, that's strange. Yeah, bit of a weird one. Can you hear me
Yeah,
better now?
that's better.
But it's still crackling. I don't know. Anyway, we'll go on to the next topic as well.
Yeah. So obviously you're married with a daughter.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Obviously now at the start it was just you, and now you got a family. You've got to try lug around, and you've obviously got a young daughter. So that's an extra challenge on top of everything.
Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge. This year I was I was fortunate enough with the virus, I guess, even though I didn't play anything, I was very fortunate to spend so much time with them. And, create she's only 10 months old. And now, the virus has been going on for 6 months or so, since, my last tournament. So I'm with them the whole time. And even though it sucks, that I wasn't able to play any tournaments, it was great to spend time with them, and I'm really happy about that. Obviously, it's a big challenge. When I came to Australia, I didn't see them for 6 or 7 weeks, and she was maybe 2 or 3 months old. It's obviously tough, but it's part of the job right now, and it's part of part of all the sacrifices I have been doing. Not to see my daughter, not to see my wife for a long period of time. We are trying to find solutions where we could be together a bit more. Uh, so yeah, we're just
Do
just
they?
yeah.
Did you even before you had your child? Would your wife come with you on tour a lot, or not really? It was always just
she
you on
she
your own.
she's very supportive of what I'm doing, and she used to come not to every tournament, but she used to come with me to some tournaments. She works remotely as a health coach, so she can work from anywhere, which is great. So we went to many tournaments together, and she saw me winning my first futures in Crete. They came to Crete. Uh, yeah, and it's really fun having them there, because it's not a distraction for me. It's great, it's great to be able to forget about tennis for a minute, and then spend some time, with your family, and yeah, it's really great when
It's
they're
a
able
good
to
and
come.
happy distraction away from the vigorous sport of tennis.
Mhm.
I think it's actually pretty good as well that you've. Yes, okay, it's not that great that we've gone through COVID, but I think it's given you that time to really like that lay that, because at the end of the day, family comes first over absolutely anything, and at least you've been able to be there with your partner and watch your child grow up and really help and really be there for those moments, which maybe if the tour was on, you might not have had all these moments. So I think there's massive positives out of it, and I'm sure, which we'll go into COVID a bit. It's really been fueling you. It's giving you that extra motivation to really push the next phase of your career. But let's go into January. I think Harry's favorite time of the year.
Because I don't see you in the office, Christian. That's why.
Yeah, Harry doesn't work for a month. Harry.
See you later. I'm done. Melbourne Park. ATP Cup.
ATP Cup, Brisbane, and then straight to the Australian Open, which, Michail, you played a massive role in that in the inaugural ATP Cup. You were the number 2 for Greece, behind Stefanos Tsitsipas, which is insane. I'm sure he's taught you a lot so far. And as well, you played 3 top 50 opponents. There was Struff, Millman, and who was
Felix Olga Aliasim, world number 20 approximately from Canada.
Thank you, Harry. You had a crazy match. I didn't watch your first 2 matches. I watched the match against Millman. You had a really great game. And then obviously you went on to the Australian Open. Like, tell me about that experience. And Harry, I'm sure Harry's experience of all that was as crazy as your experience.
No way, man.
Yeah. First day was probably the toughest for me. It was my first time playing against an opponent of that high of a ranking, that good of a player, in front of such a big stadium with challenges. It was everything was completely new to me. I think I struggled a lot that day with my game. Anyway, I mean, I don't know if it mattered at the end of the day. The guy played amazing, and he was all over me. I think the second day was with Struff against Germany. It was much better. The beginning was much better. I was able to break him, and I ended up losing the first set 6-4, very close set. And second set again, I felt like I lost my intensity for a little bit. I lost my focus, and these guys, it's what I learned. I think is that you cannot give them a chance like that. If you turn off, if you for a game or 2 just lose your focus, lose your intensity, these guys are gonna punish you. So it's something that I had the opportunity to learn in the ATP Cup with such high level players. And obviously that day with Germany, we played the doubles. That was really, really close. Very unfortunate we lost it. It was an amazing experience. Even though we lost, like, the whole thing was just unbelievable. The atmosphere, all the Greeks there, and all the cheering, and we just had so much fun that day. And then with Australia, I played, I think, my best match of ATP Cup. I guess Millman, I won the first set. I lost the second. And then in the third set, I think there were no breaks. And I ended up losing in 7-6 in the third. Again, very unfortunate that I lost. But it was a very important match for me to be able to see that I can compete with a top 50 player. I've never had that opportunity before. I played Berankis, who was like 80 or 90, but I think it's a different level, top 50 and top 100. So yeah, it was unbelievable opportunity and unbelievable experience in general, ATP Cup. And I'm really hoping next year we will. First of all, it's gonna happen, and second,
we're all hoping
we will do. Hopefully, we will do better.
Look, and Christian, just to let you know as well, it's a great point that Mike made as well. It's literally on the day. These players, if you're off for a split second, a lapse of concentration for 3 or 4 game period, not punished. Mike admitted, okay, the occasion got to him the first day against Canada, right? I think it was 2 and 3 or 1 and 3. He lost to Felix, a top 20 player. That's an even higher level than your top 50. Then all of a sudden, on day 2, Australia plays Canada. Millman smashes Felix, who comprehensively beat Mike, I think 1-4, I think it was as well, on Pat After Arena. Day 3, Mike plays Millman. It goes for about 2 hours and 45 minutes into a deciding tie break. So I just love what the sport can offer. It's literally on the day. Anybody can beat anybody. Like, the rankings go out the window. It's who's prepared to go the extra mile. And Mike, I wanted to touch more so with you on that Millman game. I was devastated because you fought so hard. Like, you had this many opportunities to break in that last set without, I think, registering a break point. You got up 15-30 a couple of times, love 30 in a few games. But I remember controlling you. You walked straight out of the room to Pat after. Your head was a bit down. I get it. You lost. You're devastated. You're gutted. And I wanted to give you a big hug, man. Like, you're devastated. You were down on yourself. I was so proud of you. What was going through your head at that stage? Like, I know you were a bit upset, but how long did it take to overcome that? And what were you thinking after the match with Millman?
Yeah, obviously at that moment I was just really sad that I lost. I wasn't really thinking, oh, I played so well. I wasn't thinking, this guy is top 50 or whatever. I was just into the game and very upset that I lost the match. But afterwards, just sitting down and seeing the way I played, I think the most important thing is not the result, but how I played. I sat down with my coach and we saw the things that I was doing well, and were able to kind of make a plan how I'm supposed to be playing in order to be beating these guys. I'm not gonna sit on the baseline and grind with them. I need to take control of the point. I need to attack. I came in a lot with Millman, so there were few points that were really, really important for me to understand what my game should look like. And I think that was the most important part. Not the result, obviously the result at the end of the day was a loss, but just that the way I played and understanding that if I'm able to play that way, the results are just gonna come.
Correct. So character building in the process of your destiny. Correct.
Michail, just from my knowledge, what was it like going on the court against an Aussie in Brisbane? What was that like? Because they always talk about home and away crowds and how it makes a difference. Did it make a massive difference? You had Harry in the crowd, so he was probably making up for all the Australians in the crowd. Anyway,
there were actually a lot of Greeks in every single day that we played. Obviously Greek Australians, but they were supporting us. They were not supporting Australia. They were supporting Greece, and it felt a little bit like home, to be honest. It definitely felt like home against Canada and Germany. There were more Greeks than Germans or Canadians supporters. And obviously Australia, there were more Australian people, but at the same time, I wasn't playing good point and didn't hear anything. The guys, however, how many were there were? I don't know how many there were, but they were going crazy, and it was amazing, to play in Australia, against Australia, and having that much support.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. It's definitely crazy. Even you see all the Greeks that turn up to the Australian Open. It's like an army. It's like an army there. So I can't wait for that one. I can't wait for you to feel what that's like. Which we'll get there.
Greece is home away from home, Australia.
And
next,
I was talking with Marcus. Two, 3 weeks ago, and he was telling me that his best results were in Australia. And he's like, "Do you know why?" I'm like, "Because of the supporters, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, it felt like it felt like home. It felt like home playing. I never. He was telling me that he never had this feeling of playing at home, except in Davis Cup in Cyprus sometimes, right?
Cool.
But he was mentioning that all the players, for example, all the Americans, are doing really well in the US. You know,
Correct.
all the people feel home and feel the support behind them, and they usually do better.
I've always said
I'm
it.
sure I'm sure there's players that it's the opposite. They feel more pressure playing at home or whatever. But I think most of them are probably preferring to be playing in home soil than somewhere else.
I agree, and I've seen results after results, just general results on the tour. I'm a believer. My saying is, especially in the top 100 of men's tennis, anything can happen. But when you're a local player, not necessarily in your home city, but just in your home tournament, wherever it is in your country, I always say you started off with a break of serve up. You're already a break of serve up. So that's my mentality and philosophy. But after the ATP Cup, we'll move on. You came here to Melbourne. What was that like for you? I mean, you spent, I think it was approximately, it would have been around 10 days, it's fair to say. Training at Melbourne Park as a hitting partner, and also working alongside Apostolos and Stefanos Tsitsipas. So what was that like? Because thereafter, we touched base on it, you had some really good results in Tasmania at the two challenges you played in.
Yeah, it was my first time being in a Grand Slam, and first of all, Harry was kind enough to have us, me and my coach, for 10 days.
Anytime, mate. My home's your home.
Philoxenia. And
Harry's a good man.
It was just we were very lucky to be able to get the passes and train at the Australian Open courts at the National Center. I did help Stefanos also with his practice a little bit. I trained with him, and I helped him warm up and everything. He gave me ticket to his matches. It was a really great experience seeing how all these top professionals are practicing, and how much time they spend in the gym, and how much time they spend practicing and all that. And I got some good work in, and then I think it showed in my results after in Tasmania. Yeah.
Yeah, what did you actually get out of being at the Australian Open? Like, did it really give you that feeling like I belong here? Like this is where I'm gonna strive to achieve to. And like what was the big lesson that you got out of the Australian Open?
I think the biggest lesson was just seeing like how professional everyone is, and seeing how much they practice, and how intense they practice, and how intense they play a match. And just seeing that, and seeing players getting showers and massage and ice baths after whatever, it's just that professionalism was
Yeah.
Really, I really connected with and I was like, I want to come here and compete. I don't want to be a sparring partner. I don't want to be a coach. I want to have a badge with my name on it, with as a player, and not as a hitting partner, or as a janitor or whatever.
Of course.
And then you took that into Tasmania. How did you go? And how were you traveling really before COVID hit?
Yeah, after the Australian Open, just a week or 10 days of practice there, I went to Tasmania for two challengers, and I had my best result yet. I made it to the quarterfinals of a challenger, beating some good players, and unfortunately, right after Tasmania, I got injured. So even before COVID, yeah, I was struggling with a wrist injury. So actually, that was another benefit for me that I didn't with the COVID, that I didn't lose any months of playing, because I was out for 2 or 3 months, and I was going to be even if COVID was not around. So it kind of helped, with the rankings and everything, to freeze everything down, and other players were not playing either. Some people were not even practicing, so I didn't. It was good in a sense that I wasn't left behind. Yeah.
And what's so? What have you gotten out of COVID? So you've spent a lot of time with your family. You've been
Yeah.
able to recover. Now, where's your mental state out? Where have we been? I know Marcos Bagdatis has been a mentor for you for the last 12 to 24 months. Is that correct? And you've been practicing with him a bit now that you're back on court. Like, where's your head at with everything?
So just the minute I got my second MRI and the doctor said it looks much better and I should start, I should just start playing, I was just so hungry and so happy, to be able to be back on court, because in the beginning they were telling me that I might need surgery and it might be really, really serious, I think. So I was just so excited that I'm able to train, and there is still some pain, but it's not as much. So I'm really happy to be able to do everything on the court, and I worked hard the past 6-7 weeks till I'm back with my injury, and yeah, I also worked with Marcos a little bit back in Cyprus. We talked, and he wants to help out as much as he can. And yeah, it was another amazing experience, having Marcos on my court, giving me tips and giving me advices and everything. It's like a dream for me, for my idol to believing in me that I am able to make it.
That's yeah. What's that like playing with him? Like, what's he taught you? What have you gotten out of Marco?
I think the one thing that is very general but very important is how professional I should be, and how intense I should be in every single practice, and how I should be working every single day on getting better with my fitness, with my tennis, mentally, and everything. I think a lot of people thought that Marcos was not a hard worker, but he with the stories he's been telling me, it's like, I don't know how people would believe that, maybe because of his style, that he's a nice guy and they're always laughing and all that, they would think he's not serious, but the guy was a machine, with practicing, and just him telling me how he used to practice and what I should be doing for practice and for fitness and all that. Hearing it from a guy that used to be 8th in the world, it's like, it's like, okay, this guy knows, so you cannot doubt it. He made it there, so you cannot say no, I don't want to do it that way, or this is not for me. It's what it is. It's what I have to do. Yeah.
living proof, and that's definitely a valuable experience for you. And hopefully, you're like a sponge, and you absorb all that good information in and utilize it to your advantage with your career, which I'm thinking, is going to really blossom real soon and take off real soon. Having said that as well, Mike, obviously the tour is resuming. Well, it has resumed. Obviously, ATP overnight now. Cincinnati qualifier started. Challenger started last week, and there's been a few future tournaments that have started. So what myself and Christian really wanted to pick your brain out was, what are your goals for the rest of the 2020 season? So that'd be your short-term goal. What are your goals in the next 2 years, 4 years, your medium-term goals, and then 5 years to 10 years, your long-term goals, with your professional job being a professional tennis player?
Yeah. So with 2020 is a bit strange because I am not sure how many tournaments are gonna be on. They're just adding few challengers. They're gonna be very difficult to get into. So it's a little bit strange to say right now in the middle of the season, almost at the end of the season, what my goals are. In the beginning,
Yes.
my goal was to play U.S. Open qualifying. Obviously, that's not gonna happen. I
Yes.
didn't have the opportunity. No one had the opportunity to get better. So honestly, I think for 2020 is just get out there, compete, do as much as best as I can, play as many tournaments as I can, and
Yeah.
then at the beginning of 2021, I'm gonna set new goals, and probably would be the same, making it into the U.S. Open qualifying.
No, that's great. That's definitely great. And I do recall back at the end of January that was your goal. And there's no excuse as well. I think this year, sport in general, but more so the tennis tour has been affected the most, Mike. And I think it's a great sort of vision that you've got. Just to play as many tournaments as you possibly can for the rest of 2020. I think with that, your ranking is going to take care of itself with as many tournaments as you play. And then, I think from 2021 onwards, you're reset. A bit of luck as well in the ATP Cup with an easier group goes ahead, and an easier number two opponent could work well in your advantage in your favour as well from 2021 onwards. So good positive outlook, and obviously wishing you all the very best in your immediate endeavours on the tennis court. And last but not least, Christian, I think we're going to wrap it up on this last one. Great question, Christian Preps. Yes, I'm taking the credit for this question. When you finish your career, what do you want to have achieved? What are the goals you've set yourself? Like, say you're now 45, you're retired, you're on a nice beach in Greece or Cyprus with the crystal blue waters. You're reviewing your career, you're looking back, and Mike is saying to himself, okay, I achieved X, Y, and Z. I'm so proud. I've got no regrets. What does that look like for you, Mike?
I think for me right now, as a tennis player, is to be top 100. Top 100 in the world is my goal right now. Obviously, if I do reach that goal, then it's gonna rise to a higher one.
Build from there.
But I'd like to take things step at a time, and work towards that goal. The top 100, I think it's possible, and it's a difficult goal though. It's possible but very difficult. So I really need to work hard, and if I'm 45 and I'm laying on the beach, and I could say that I was top 100 in the world in tennis for a few years, and I made some money from tennis, then I think I would be happy with that. As a person, or as a tennis player, as a person, I would like to be the nice guy, that always smile, kind of like the image that Marcus has in the ATP world. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think, Michail, anything's possible, especially now with COVID that's hit. Everything's kind of reset. Everybody's on the same level. So there's going to be some players that didn't train as hard. There's going to be some players that are going to surprise. And because they've worked so hard, they've broken through. So I think you've got an extremely big opportunity to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And unfortunately, I think COVID, I know it's sad what's happened in the world, but I think, fortunately, it's going to benefit some players. So, I'm looking at looking at other professional sports. Just looking at football, you got Atlanta that made the quarterfinals of a Champions League. You look at our local football, which is AFL. There's some teams in there that are really playing very well. They're surprising. So I think you've got a huge opportunity in front of you, and to achieve some big things. I think you've just got to get back on the court and start playing,
I
and
know.
let everything else sort itself out.
100%. I agree with that.
Out there. Can't wait.
Yeah, so it's, but I thank you so much for jumping on and giving us your time today. It was a great conversation. It was great to finally virtually meet you. I'm sure I'll meet you, fingers crossed, in January if things open up and you're able to come down. But thank you so much. It was an amazing insight. And you've taught me a lot about obviously what it takes to those extra steps. Those 1% is always getting 1% better. And yeah, I thank you. And Harry, thank you so much as well for jumping on and giving your expert analysis.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you, Mike. And Mike, all the very best. Wishing you all the very best. Keep working hard, keep training hard, and we'll touch base soon, I'm sure. And all the best, and to your family, to your wife, and to your baby girl, Eleonora, as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me. It was great to have a conversation with you.
Thanks, Mike. Take care, man. Bye. Cheers.